That Tuesday morning, my world collapsed. After 45 years of marriage, my husband looked at me across the kitchen table and said, "I'm divorcing you. And I'm taking everything, the house, the car, the savings, all of it." I was standing at the counter making his coffee, the same coffee I'd made for him every morning for 45 years, the same kitchen where we'd shared thousands of breakfasts, celebrated our children's birthdays, mourned our parents' passing. And now this man, the father of my children, the partner of my lifetime, was telling me he was leaving me with nothing. My hand trembled. The coffee cup slipped from my fingers and shattered on the floor. But I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't beg. I looked at him, smiled gently, and said, "Okay, I'll sign." My lawyer later shouted at me, "Eleanor, have you lost your mind? Don't sign anything." But I signed every single paper. I gave him everything he asked for. And he was happy. He smiled. He celebrated. He thought he had won. But he had no idea that my silent revenge had already begun. Hi, everyone. I'm Sarah, and you're listening to Grandmaa Stories. Today's story is about a 72-year-old woman who taught her husband a lesson he would never forget. If you watch until the end, you'll see how a weak-old woman can turn the tables in ways no one expects. Please comment below and let me know which city you're watching from. I read every single comment. My name is Eleanor Wilson. I'm 72 years old. 45 years ago, I married James Wilson. I was 27, a young school teacher with dreams. He was 32, a promising lawyer with ambition. We built a life together, a modest house in Sacramento, 2 children, a garden full of roses. In the early years, James was good, kind, hard-working, present. He'd come home from work and help with the kids. We'd sit on the porch swing and talk about everything and nothing. I thought we had something real. But over the decades, something shifted. The kids grew up and moved away. Our son to Seattle, our daughter to Phoenix. They call sometimes on birthdays and holidays. That's about it. James became distant, absorbed in his work, his clients, his business dinners. I told myself it was normal. 45 years of marriage, you can't expect fireworks forever. So I kept the house, made his meals, did his laundry, and asked no questions. I was the quiet wife, the supportive partner, the one who never complained. For 45 years, I gave him everything, and in return, he gave me nothing but the illusion of security. The signs were there, I just didn't want to see 'em. 3 years ago, James started sleeping in the guest room. Back pain, he said. The doctor recommended a firmer mattress. 2 years ago, he changed his phone password. He'd never done that before. When I asked, he snapped, "A man's entitled to some privacy, isn't he?" A year ago, he began coming home late, 10 p.m., 11 p.m., sometimes midnight. Client meetings, he'd say. Big cases take time. I said nothing. Marriage is built on trust, I told myself. But trust is like glass. Once it starts cracking, you can't stop it from shattering. And one cold December night, it finally broke. It was around 2 a.m. I couldn't sleep. Insomnia had become my companion in recent years. I went downstairs to make tea. As I passed James's study, I heard his voice through the door. He was on the phone, and the door wasn't completely closed. Yes, she'll sign. She's 72 years old. She doesn't have a choice. The house, the car, the savings, it's all coming to me. I've got it all planned. I froze. My hand gripped the stair rail. The teacup slipped from my fingers and shattered on the floor that echoed through the silent house. James's voice stopped. "Eleanor, is that you?" I didn't answer. I picked up the broken pieces, my hand shaking so badly I cut my finger. I didn't even feel the pain. All I felt was a cold, hollow numbness spreading through my chest. 45 years. 45 years of marriage, and I was just an obstacle to be removed. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the kitchen until dawn, staring at the wall. When the sun finally rose, I made coffee, only 1 cup this time. James came down at 8 a.m., all smiles and cheerfulness. He kissed my cheek, the first kiss in months, and said, "Eleanor, we need to talk." I sat across from him, my coffee untouched. "Eleanor, I think it's time we went our separate ways. I've met someone else. Her name is Susan. I want a divorce." I said nothing. "Don't worry, I'll be fair. You can keep the house, but the car, the savings, the investments, those are mine. I've earned them. You'll have your pension and Social Security. That's enough, right?" Enough. After 45 years, I was enough. I looked at him, really looked at him, this man I loved, trusted, built my life around, and for the first time I saw him clearly. He wasn't my husband anymore. He was just a stranger wearing my husband's face. I smiled. "Okay, I'll sign." He blinked. "What? You'll sign?" I said, "Yes, James. Give me the papers. I'll sign." Relief flooded his face, relief and a hint of triumph he couldn't quite hide. "I knew you'd be reasonable, Eleanor." Reasonable. Yes, I was going to be very, very reasonable. The next day, I drove to see Mr. Harrison, our family lawyer for 30 years. He'd handled our wills, our taxes, everything. When I showed him the divorce papers, his face went pale. "Eleanor, are you out of your mind? This man is taking everything. You can't sign this." I leaned forward and said quietly, "Mr. Harrison, what's the most effective way to take revenge on someone who underestimates you?" He stared at me for a long moment, then a slow smile spread across his face. "Eleanor, you have a plan." "I need to know the legal options. What can I do, quietly, without him knowing, to protect myself and, if necessary, to make sure he gets exactly what he deserves?" Mr. Harrison pulled out a legal pad and started writing. For the next hour, he explained everything: asset transfers, trusts, documentation, evidence collection. By the time I left his office, I had a road map to destroy him. I signed the divorce papers that afternoon. James filed them the next day. The divorce was finalized in 2 weeks. Quick, uncontested, exactly what James wanted. The judge asked if I agreed to the terms. I said yes, smiling. James beamed. Outside the courthouse, he hugged me. "You're a good woman, Eleanor. I'll never forget you." I whispered, "Neither will I, James. Neither will I." He got into his car, my car, now his, and drove off to meet Susan. I watched them embrace in the parking lot across the street. They opened champagne. They laughed. They thought they had won. But I had already started winning. That same evening, I began my work. First, James's laptop. He left it at home when he went to celebrate with Susan. He said he'd pick it up tomorrow. I knew his password, 1987, the year of his first car. He'd never changed it. I opened his email. I read every message between Susan and James going back 2 years. I found posters, travel plans, declarations of love. I also found evidence of financial transfers, money he'd siphoned from our joint accounts to secret accounts in Susan's name. I screenshotted everything, downloaded everything, saved it all to an encrypted drive. Next, bank statements. I had all our joint account passwords. I printed 10 years of records, every withdrawal, every transfer, every hidden transaction. Then property records, the house deed still in both our names. I called Mr. Harrison. He arranged to transfer my half of the house to a trust in our children's names, quietly, legally, without James's knowledge. Finally, Susan. I looked her up. Divorced, 2 kids, living in a rented apartment. Her ex-husband was a contractor named Mike, and according to public records, he'd recently filed for custody of their kids. He might be an ally. I made notes. I built a file. By the time James came to collect his laptop 2 weeks later, I had enough evidence to destroy him 3 times over. He sat in my kitchen, his ex-wife's kitchen, and said, "Eleanor, you've been so great about all this. I really appreciate it." I poured him tea and smiled. "I'm glad you're happy, James." He left whistling. I watched him drive away and thought, happy? Enjoy it while it lasts. That night I wrote a letter, 3 pages, typed, no emotion, just facts. "Dear James, you think you've won. You've taken the house, the car, the savings. You're celebrating with Susan, planning your new life. But you've made one mistake. You underestimated me. I have copies of every email you and Susan have exchanged for the past 2 years. I have bank records showing every dollar you transferred to her accounts. I have proof of financial fraud." March 15th started like any other day for James. He woke up in Susan's apartment, made coffee, and scrolled through his phone. In 2 weeks, they'd be moving into their new house, a beautiful 4-bedroom in the suburbs, paid for with money he'd taken from our joint accounts. Life was good. At 10 a.m., his phone buzzed. A text from me. "Check your mailbox." He thought nothing of it. Probably some sentimental goodbye note, he told Susan. The old woman can't let go. But when he walked to the mailbox and saw the thick envelope with my handwriting, something made him pause. He opened it right there on the sidewalk. 3 pages, typed, no emotion, just facts. "Dear James, you think you've won. You've taken the house, the car, the savings. You're celebrating with Susan, planning your new life. But you've made one mistake. You underestimated me. I have copies of every email you and Susan have exchanged for the past 2 years. I have bank records showing every dollar you transferred to her accounts. I have proof of financial fraud that could send you to prison. I also have the house, or rather my half of it, now safely in a trust for our children. You can't touch it. I've been in touch with Mike, Susan's ex-husband. He's very interested in the evidence I've gathered. He thinks it might help his custody case. You thought I was weak. You thought I'd just disappear. But I've spent 45 years learning how you operate, James. I know all your secrets. Here's what's going to happen. You will transfer back everything you took from me, plus interest. You will sign over the car and half of the savings. You will walk away quietly, or I will send every piece of evidence to your law firm, to the Bar Association, and to the press. You have 1 week. Think carefully. Enjoy your celebration. It's almost over. Designus Eleanor. James read it once, then again. His hands shook. His knees felt weak. He leaned against the mailbox, trying to process what he'd just read. She knew everything. At 10:15 a.m., my phone rang. James. I let it ring 3 times before answering. "Hello, James." "Eleanor, what is this? What are you doing?" I kept my voice calm. "Reading comprehension was never your strong suit, was it, James? It's a letter, James, a very detailed letter." "These accusations, they're ridiculous. You can't prove any of this." "Can't I? Check your email, James. I sent you a sample, just one, to prove I'm serious." I heard him fumbling with his phone, typing, then silence. That's from 2 years ago. How did you—" "I told you, James. I know all your secrets. I have everything. Every email, every bank transfer, every photo you and Susan took in Paris, in Dubai, in London, all of it." His voice cracked. "Eleanor, please, we can talk about this. You don't have to destroy me." Destroy you, James. You tried to destroy me first. You took 45 years of my life and threw it away for a younger woman and a bigger bank account. You left me with nothing, or so you thought. What do you want? I told you in the letter. 1 week. Transfer back everything. The house, the car, the savings, with interest. Sign over half of everything and walk away quietly. That's hundreds of thousands of dollars. I can't just... You can, James, or I send everything to your law firm. How do you think your partners will feel about a senior lawyer who committed financial fraud against his own wife? How do you think the Bar Association will react? How do you think Susan's children will feel when they find out their mother helped destroy their father's custody case? Silence. Long, heavy silence. Then quietly, you've thought of everything. I've had 2 weeks, James. 2 weeks while you were celebrating. I used them wisely. He hung up. I smiled and poured myself another cup of tea. James didn't handle the news well. Susan found him on the balcony staring at nothing, the letter crumpled in his hand. "What's wrong?" she asked. "You look like you've seen a ghost." Wordlessly, he handed her the letter. She read it, her face going pale. She knows everything? Every email, every transfer, every trip. She even contacted Mike. Mike? My ex-husband Mike? The one fighting me for custody? That's what she says. James, if Mike gets that evidence, I'll lose my kids. They'll use it against me in court. They'll say I'm unfit. I'll never see them again. James ran his hands through his hair. We have to figure something out. We have to pay her. We have to give her whatever she wants. That's hundreds of thousands of dollars, Susan. We just bought a house. Then sell the house, sell the car, sell Susan's jewelry. Not my problem. They argued for hours. By the end, they were both exhausted, scared, and desperate. Meanwhile, I was having a lovely lunch with Mike. We met at a small diner on the outskirts of town. Mike was in his late 40s, tired-looking, with kind eyes. He shook my hand and said, "Mrs. Wilson, when you called, I didn't believe it, but then you sent those emails. Call me Eleanor, and I don't lie, Mike. I just collect evidence." He laughed, a sad, weary laugh. Susan always said I was too trusting. Guess she was right about that. Never saw any of this coming. Neither did I. But here we are. I read everything you sent. The affair started 2 years ago while we were still married. She was hiding money, planning to leave. This changes everything for my custody case. That's why I contacted you, Mike. I don't want to hurt your children, but I do want justice. What do you need from me? Just be ready. In a week, James has to decide whether to pay me back or face exposure. If he chooses exposure, I'll send you the testimony. If he pays, well, then you have the evidence anyway. Use it however you need. Mike reached across the table and squeezed my hand. You're something else, Eleanor. He had no idea who he was messing with. I smiled. No, he really didn't. Back home, I spread out my files and did the math. I wrote the number on a sticky note and put it on my refrigerator. Every time I opened it, I smiled. $700,000 for 45 years of silent sacrifice, for the sleepless nights while he worked late, for the children I raised mostly alone, for the dreams I gave up so he could chase his. $700,000 was a bargain. Over the next 3 days, James texted me constantly, begging, pleading, threatening, bargaining. I saved every single one. James said, "Eleanor, please, we can work this out. I'll give you half. Just don't destroy me." Me, half isn't enough. Read the letter again. James said, You're being unreasonable. I can't afford $700,000. Then sell the house, sell the car, sell Susan's jewelry. Not my problem. James said, if you do this, the kids will hate you. You'll destroy the family. Me. The kids already know James. I sent them copies of everything. They're not on your side. That last text must have hit hard. He didn't respond for 24 hours. My son David called that evening. He lives in Seattle with his wife and kids. We don't talk as often as I'd like, but when we do, it's always warm. Mom, he said, his voice heavy, I read everything, all the emails, all the documents. I can't believe Dad. I just can't believe it. Believe it, sweetheart. People change, or maybe they just show you who they really are. Are you okay? Do you need anything? I can fly down. I'll help however I can. I'm okay, David. Better than okay, actually. I'm in control for the first time in 45 years. Mom, the way you handled this, it's incredible. I'm proud of you. My daughter Rachel called next. She's in Phoenix, a high school teacher, raising 2 kids on her own. Her voice shook when she spoke. Mom, I'm so sorry. I should have seen it. I should have been there for you more. Rachel, this isn't your fault. It's not your job to watch your father. It's my job to protect myself, and I'm doing that now. If you need anything, money, a place to stay, anything, you call me. Promise? I promise, sweetheart. For the first time in weeks, I felt something other than anger. Love, real love from the 2 people who actually mattered. James could keep his Susan, I had my children, and soon I'd have my money too. Eleanor had won. She had her money, her dignity, and her freedom. But James didn't take defeat well. And when a man like James loses everything, he doesn't just walk away. He plots, he schemes, he waits for revenge. Today, you'll see exactly what James did next and how Eleanor turned his revenge into her greatest victory yet. 3 months passed. Spring turned into summer. The roses in my garden bloomed brighter than ever. I spent my mornings on the porch with coffee, my afternoons with books, and my evenings with friends. The remaining amount arrived on schedule. James sold the new house, sold the car, liquidated everything. Susan left him just as I'd predicted. She moved to another state to be closer to her sister, leaving James with nothing but his law practice and his wounded pride. I should have felt sorry for him. 45 years of marriage, and this was how it ended. But every time I felt a twinge of pity, I remembered that phone call. I remembered his voice saying, she's 72, she doesn't have a choice. I remembered Susan's laugh in the courthouse parking lot. Pity? No, James didn't deserve pity. He deserved exactly what he got. Or so I thought. Late June, a Tuesday evening. I was watering my roses when my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me swipe right. Mrs. Wilson, this is Detective Martinez from the Sacramento Police Department. Do you have a few minutes to talk? My heart stopped. Police? Why would police be calling me? What's this about, Detective? I'd rather discuss it in person. Can you come to the station tomorrow morning, 10 a.m.? Can you at least tell me what this concerns? A pause. Then, it concerns your ex-husband, ma'am, James Wilson. He's filed a police report. I gripped the phone tighter. A police report? Against me? Against you and his former partner, Susan Blake. He's accusing you both of extortion, blackmail, and fraud. We need to hear your side of the story. The world tilted slightly. Extortion? Blackmail? Fraud? I hadn't done anything illegal, Everything I did was within the law. Mr. Harrison had made sure of that. Detective, I'll be there at 10 a.m. tomorrow, and I'll be bringing my lawyer." "That would be wise, ma'am. See you then." The line went dead. I stood in my garden, staring at the roses, trying to process what I'd just heard. James was fighting back, and he dragged Susan into it, too. Early the next morning, I sat in Mr. Harrison's office, my hands wrapped around a cup of tea I couldn't drink. "He's accusing you of extortion, Eleanor," Mr. Harrison said, reviewing the police report on his computer. "He claims you threatened to expose private information unless he paid you $700,000. "But that's exactly what happened," I said. "I did threaten to expose him. That's the definition of blackmail, isn't it?" Mr. Harrison smiled, that slow, reassuring smile I'd come to trust. "No, Eleanor. Blackmail is threatening to expose someone unless they pay you to keep quiet. But you weren't asking him to pay you to keep quiet. You were asking him to return what he stole from you. That's not extortion. That's restitution. So he can't win. He can try, but here's the thing. He's admitted in writing that he took money from joint accounts without your knowledge. Those bank records you have, they're proof of financial fraud. By filing this police report, he's essentially confessing to his own crimes. So what happens now? Now we go to the station, we tell him everything, and we let James dig his own grave." Detective Martinez was a middle-aged woman with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. She led us to a small interview room and offered coffee, which I declined. "Mrs. Wilson, your ex-husband claims you blackmailed him out of $700,000. He's provided bank records showing the transfer, as well as copies of the letter you sent. Can you explain your side?" I pulled out my folder, the same folder I'd used to organize everything. I placed it on the table and opened it. "Detective, before I say anything, I want you to look at these." I handed her printouts of James's emails, his bank statements, his photos with Susan. I handed her the divorce papers showing he'd taken everything. I handed her Mr. Harrison's notes on the legal transfers I'd made. She read in silence for a long time. Then she looked up at me. "Mrs. Wilson, this man stole from you. He hid assets. He committed fraud. And then he tried to divorce you and leave you with nothing." "That's correct. And the letter you sent, you were asking him to return what he took from you, plus interest for 45 years of marriage." Detective Martinez leaned back in her chair and let out a long breath. Then she laughed, a short, surprised laugh. "Ma'am, I've been doing this job for 20 years. I've seen a lot of revenge, a lot of spite, a lot of people trying to destroy each other. But this is different. You didn't destroy him. You just made him face the consequences of his own actions. So I'm not under arrest?" "You're not under arrest. In fact, I'm going to recommend that the DA looks into filing charges against your ex-husband for financial fraud. The evidence is overwhelming." I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. James tried to trap me, and instead, he trapped himself. That evening, my phone rang. James. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the better of me. "Hello, James." "You did this," he spat. "You went to the police and lied to them." "I didn't lie, James. I showed them the truth, the same truth you tried to hide. The DA called me. They're opening an investigation. I could lose my license, Eleanor, my entire career. Is that what you wanted?" I paused, letting the silence stretch. "James, I didn't want any of this. I just wanted what was mine. You're the one who filed a false police report. You're the one who tried to destroy me twice, first with the divorce, then with this. I'm just defending myself. defending yourself. You're destroying me." "I'm not destroying you, James. You're destroying yourself, and honestly, it's about time." He hung up. I set the phone down and looked at my roses. They were still blooming, still beautiful, still resilient, just like me. The next few weeks were a blur of meetings, interviews, and legal proceedings. The DA's office opened a formal investigation into James's finances. They subpoenaed his bank records, his emails, his client files. Susan was brought in for questioning, too. She tried to claim she knew nothing about the fraud, but the emails told a different story. She'd helped James hide money, open secret accounts, plan the divorce. She wasn't just an innocent girlfriend, she was an accomplice. Mike called me one night, his voice full of gratitude. "Eleanor, you won't believe this, but DA shared the evidence with my lawyer. I'm going to get full custody of the kids. Susan doesn't stand a chance." "I'm glad, Mike. Your children deserve a father who'll fight for them. And you deserve everything you've won." James had no idea who he was dealing with. I smiled. No, he really didn't. By August, the story had leaked to the local news. "Prominent Sacramento lawyer investigated for financial fraud." That was the headline. They didn't use James's name at first, but in a small city like Sacramento, everyone knew. His law firm suspended him pending the investigation. Clients started leaving. His reputation, built for 45 years, crumbled in weeks. I watched it all from my porch, sipping tea, surrounded by roses. Part of me felt satisfied. Another part felt sad. Not for James, but for what we'd lost. 45 years of marriage reduced to this. But then I remembered. I remembered the phone call. I remembered Susan's laugh. I remembered the look on his face when he said, "She's 72. She doesn't have a choice." And the sadness disappeared. With the money safely in my accounts, I started making changes. First, I fixed the roof, the one that leaked for years because James said it could wait. Then I renovated the kitchen, new cabinets, new counters, new appliances. For the first time in decades, the kitchen felt like mine. I bought a new car, a small, reliable Honda. Nothing flashy, just enough to get me to the grocery store and back. I joined a book club, started walking with a group of women from church, reconnected with old friends I'd lost touch with over. Last time on Grandmaa Stories, James tried to fight back. He filed a police report accusing Eleanor of blackmail. He thought he could trap her, destroy her, take back the money he paid. But Eleanor had something he didn't have: evidence, proof, the truth. When Detective Martinez saw the folder, everything changed. James wasn't the victim anymore. He was the criminal. Now the DA has filed charges. James is facing prison time, and Eleanor is about to face the hardest decision of her life: testify against the man she once loved or let him walk free. Today, you'll see what happened in that courtroom, and trust me, you won't believe how it ends. The night before the trial, I couldn't sleep. I sat on my porch, wrapped in a blanket, staring at the stars. My roses glowed faintly in the moonlight, red and white and pink, all the colors of a life I'd rebuilt. My phone buzzed. "David." "Mom, you okay?" "I'm fine, sweetheart. Just thinking." "About tomorrow?" "About everything. About your father. About 45 years. About how we got here." "Mom, you don't have to do this. You can walk away. The DA said they have enough evidence without your testimony." I thought about that. Walk away. Let the system handle James without me. Go back to my garden, my books, my quiet life. "David, if I walk away now, I'm still letting him win. Not in court, but in my heart. I need to face him. I need to look him in the eye and tell the truth for myself, for you and Rachel, for every woman who's ever been told she's too old, too weak, too unimportant to fight back. Then I'll be right behind you, Mom. Rachel, too. We're flying in tonight." Tears filled my eyes. "You don't have to. We want to. We're proud of you. We'll be there." That night, I slept better than I had in weeks. October 15th. Gray sky, cold wind. Perfect weather for justice. The courthouse was old and grand, with marble floors and high ceilings. Reporters clustered near the entrance, cameras ready. James's case had become local news. The prominent lawyer accused of fraud, the elderly ex-wife who'd fought back. I walked in with David on one side and Rachel on the other. Mr. Harrison walked ahead, briefcase in hand. We passed through the crowd without saying a word. Inside the courtroom, I saw James for the first time in months. He sat at the defense table, flanked by two expensive lawyers. He looked older, thinner, grayer, defeated. His eyes met mine for just a second, then looked away. Susan sat in the back row, alone. She'd been charged as an accomplice, but had taken a plea deal in exchange for testimony against James. She looked smaller, too, diminished, like a balloon that had lost all its air. The judge in it. We rose. The trial began. The first day was all evidence. The prosecutor, a sharp young woman named Miss Delgado, laid out everything: the hidden accounts, the secret transfers, the emails between James and Susan planning the divorce. "Your Honor," she said, "the defendant, James Wilson, engaged in a systematic scheme to defraud his wife of 45 years. He hid assets, transferred funds to secret accounts, and conspired with his mistress to leave Mrs. Wilson with nothing. When she discovered the truth and asked for restitution, he filed a false police report accusing her of blackmail." The jury, 8 men and 4 women, listened intently. Some glanced at James with visible disgust. Others looked at me with something like sympathy. Miss Delgado called witness after witness: bank managers, forensic accountants, former colleagues who testified about James's character. Each one added another brick to the wall, closing in on him. Then came Susan. Susan walked to the stand with her head down. She looked nothing like the woman I'd seen in photos, the one laughing in Paris, sipping champagne in Dubai. This woman was pale, tired, broken. Miss Delgado approached her gently. "Miss Blake, you've agreed to testify today as part of your plea agreement. Can you tell us what role you played in this case?" Her voice was barely audible. "I helped James hide money. I opened accounts in my name. I knew what he was doing was wrong, but I did it anyway." "And why did you do it?" "Because I loved him, because he promised me a future, because I was stupid enough to believe him." James's lawyer jumped up. "Objection, Your Honor. The witness's personal feelings are irrelevant." "Overruled," said the judge. "Continue, Miss Blake." Susan looked at me, really looked at me for the first time. Tears streamed down her face. "Mrs. Wilson, I'm sorry. I know that doesn't mean anything, but I'm sorry. He told me you didn't care about him. He told me you were cold, distant, that you'd be fine on your own. I believed him. I didn't know he was lying about everything." The courtroom was silent. I held David's hand and said nothing. Miss Delgado continued. "Miss Blake, did James Wilson ever tell you that he was planning to leave his wife with nothing?" "Yes. He said it would be easy because she trusted him completely. He said she'd never see it coming." "And did you help him execute that plan?" "Yes." Her voice broke. "And I'll regret it for the rest of my life." When Susan stepped down, she walked past me without meeting my eyes. I watched her go and felt something unexpected. Pity. Not forgiveness, just pity. The next day, James testified in his own defense. It was a mistake. His lawyers knew it. The prosecutor knew it. Everybody knew it. But James was desperate. He took the stand looking confident, but I could see the fear behind his eyes. Mr. Wilson, his own lawyer, began. Can you explain the financial transactions the prosecution has presented? Those were investments, James said smoothly. I was diversifying our assets. Eleanor knew about them. She knew? Absolutely. We discussed everything. She's just confused. Age does that. The jury shifted uncomfortably. I kept my face neutral. Miss Delgado rose for cross-examination. Mr. Wilson, you claim your wife knew about these accounts. Can you show us one email, one text, one handwritten note where she acknowledged that knowledge? James hesitated. Well, we discussed it in person. So no documentation. Not everything needs documentation. Interesting, because Mrs. Wilson has documentation, bank statements, emails, transfer records. Why do you suppose she kept such detailed records while you kept none? James's face reddened. I don't know. You'd have to ask her. I plan to, Miss Delgado said. But first, Mr. Wilson, let's talk about your relationship with Miss Blake. The next hour was brutal. Miss Delgado walked James through every email, every photo, every secret trip. She read aloud the text where he'd called me a burden, an obstacle, someone to be handled. She read aloud the messages where he'd planned our divorce while still living in our house, sleeping in our bed. By the time she finished, James looked like a different man, smaller, older, utterly defeated. Then it was my turn. I walked to the stand slowly, deliberately. I wore a simple blue dress, nothing flashy, nothing sad, just a woman telling her truth. Miss Delgado approached gently. Mrs. Wilson, can you tell us about your marriage? I took a deep breath. 45 years. We were married for 45 years. I loved him. I trusted him. I gave him everything I had. And when he asked for a divorce, he didn't ask, he told me. He said he was taking everything, the house, the car, the savings. He said I was 72 and didn't need it. How did that make you feel? Like I didn't exist, like 45 years meant nothing, like I was just furniture to be discarded. And what did you do? I smiled, I signed, and then I started planning. Planning what? Planning to take back what was mine. Not revenge, just justice. I gathered evidence. I documented everything. I contacted a lawyer, and when I had all the proof, I sent him a letter asking him to return what he'd stolen. Some might call that blackmail. Some might call that restitution. He took from me. I asked for it back. That's not a crime. That's survival. The jury nodded. I saw one woman wipe a tear. Miss Delgado continued, Mrs. Wilson, did you ever want to hurt your ex-husband? No, I just wanted to be whole again. I wanted my children to know their mother wasn't weak. I wanted to sleep at night without wondering how the man I loved could betray me so completely. And now, how do you feel? I looked at James, really looked at him. 45 years of memories flashed through my mind. Our wedding day, the birth of our children, quiet mornings with coffee, all of it gone, replaced by this. I feel free, I said quietly. For the first time in 45 years, I feel completely, utterly free. James stared at the table. But as Eleanor sat on her porch that night, surrounded by her children, she realized something important. This wasn't the end. It was just the beginning of a new chapter. Today, we close this story. You'll see where James is now. You'll see what happened to Susan. You'll see how Eleanor's children reacted. And you'll learn the final lesson that changed everything. Let's begin. 3 months after the trial, a letter arrived. Plain white envelope. Return address, California State Prison, Sacramento. I knew the handwriting immediately. James. I almost threw it away, but something made me open it. Dear Eleanor, I don't expect you to read this. I don't expect you to care, but I need to write it anyway. I'm sitting in a cell, 6 by 8 feet, with a bunk bed and a metal toilet. This is my life now, and every night I lie here thinking about what I did to you. I was wrong, not just about the money, about everything. I told myself I deserved more. I told myself you were holding me back. I told myself Susan loved me the way you never could. I was wrong about all of it. Susan visited me once. She came to tell me she'd moved on, that she was getting back with Mike, that she hoped I found peace. She didn't ask how I was. She didn't care. I don't blame her. I wouldn't care about me either. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I know I don't deserve it. I'm just asking you to know that I finally understand what I lost. 45 years, a family, a woman who loved me. I threw it all away. Take care of yourself, Eleanor. Plant more roses. Travel. Be happy. You deserve it. James. I read the letter 3 times, then I folded it carefully and placed it in my nightstand drawer next to the letters I'd written to myself. I didn't cry. I didn't feel anger. I just felt nothing, and that nothing felt a lot like peace. A week later, my phone rang. Prison number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Eleanor? His voice was different, softer, older, broken. James? I didn't think you'd answer. I almost didn't. A long pause. Then, did you get my letter? Yes. And? And what, James? I don't know, do you have anything to say? I thought about it. 45 years of marriage, 3 years of betrayal, 1 trial, 1 verdict, 1 letter. I hope you find peace, James. I hope you use this time to become someone different, someone better, not for me, for yourself. Can you ever forgive me? Forgiveness isn't about you, it's about me, and I'm working on it. That's all I can promise. That's more than I deserve. I know. He laughed, a sad, broken laugh. You always did tell the truth. Somebody had to. Another long pause. Then, goodbye, Eleanor. Goodbye, James. I hung up and sat in silence for a long time. Then I walked to the garden and watered my roses. That spring, the roses bloomed like never before. Red, pink, white, yellow, a rainbow of color that transformed my garden into something magical. I spent hours out there, pruning, watering, just sitting among them. They reminded me of something important, that beauty can grow from anything, even pain, even betrayal, even loss. Rachel visited often with the kids. They'd run through the garden, laughing, chasing butterflies. I'd watch them and think about how different my life was now, how full, how rich. David called every Sunday without fail. He'd tell me about his job, his wife, his new promotion. I'd tell him about the garden, the book club, the trips I was planning. Life was good. Not perfect, just good, and good was enough. One afternoon, there was a knock at my door. I opened it to find Susan. She looked different, older, tired, but somehow at peace. She held a small plant in her hands. Mrs. Wilson, I know I'm the last person you want to see. I needed to do this in person. She held out the plant, a rose bush. It's a peace rose. I thought maybe you could plant it in your garden as a symbol. I took the plant and looked at it, small, fragile, but alive. Susan, why are you here? I'm in therapy. I've been going for months. I needed to understand how I could have done what I did, how I could have helped destroy someone's life. And my therapist said that healing means facing the people you've hurt. So this is for you, not for me. It's for both of us. I'm not asking you to forgive me. I'm just asking you to know that I'm trying to be better for my kids, for myself, for everyone I've hurt. I looked at her for a long moment. Then I stepped aside. Come in, I'll make tea. We sat in my kitchen, the same kitchen where James had demanded a divorce, where I had made coffee for 45 years, where my world had fallen apart, and we talked. She told me about Mike, about her kids, about the custody battle she'd lost. She told me about the guilt that ate her every day. She told me about the dreams she had where I was screaming at her and she couldn't wake up. I listened. I didn't offer comfort, but I didn't offer anger either. I just listened. When she left, she hugged me. I didn't hug back, but I didn't pull away. The next day, I planted the peace rose in my garden, right next to the others. 2 years passed. James was still in prison, but I'd stopped counting. Susan moved back to her hometown, started a small business, got joint custody of her kids. We exchanged Christmas cards now. Nothing deep, just acknowledgement. My garden won a local award. Can you believe it? The Sacramento Garden Club gave me first prize for my roses. David came down for the ceremony. Rachel sent flowers. I stood there among strangers accepting an award for something I loved and felt completely at home. I started writing, little stories at first, memories, reflections, lessons learned, then longer pieces, essays about marriage, betrayal, forgiveness. One got published in a local magazine. A newspaper picked it up. Suddenly people were reaching out, other women, other survivors, others who'd been told they were too old to fight back. I started a little group. We met once a month at the community center. Women of all ages, all backgrounds, all stories. We talked, we cried, we laughed, we healed. They called it Eleanor's Circle. One night, after a particularly emotional meeting, a young woman approached me, maybe 30, with tired eyes and a trembling voice. Eleanor, I just wanted to thank you. My husband tried to do the same thing your ex-husband did. He thought I'd be too scared to fight back, but I remembered your story. I gathered evidence. I called a lawyer. I won. She hugged me, and I hugged her back. That's when I realized my story wasn't just mine anymore. It belonged to every woman who needed to hear it. That night, I wrote one last letter, not to James, not to Susan, not even to myself, to everyone who would come after. Dear reader, if you're reading this, you're probably going through something hard. Betrayal, loss, fear, the feeling that you're alone, that no one understands, that you're too old or too tired to fight back. I'm here to tell you you're wrong. I was 72 when my world fell apart. I had nothing but a garden and a folder full of receipts, and I fought back. Not because I was strong, but because I had to be. Not because I wanted revenge, but because I wanted justice. And you know what? I won. Not just the money, not just the court case. I won my life back. I won my dignity. I won the right to sit on my porch surrounded by roses and know that I did everything I could. You can too. It starts with one step, one decision, one moment when you choose yourself over your fear. Take that step, make that decision, have that moment, and then write to me. Tell me your story. I'll be here in my garden waiting to hear it. With hope, Eleanor. I folded the letter and placed it in my nightstand drawer next to the letters I'd written to myself, a legacy, a